What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome, one and all, to BK Voiceover's 2022 Seahawks Draft Recap. And I gotta say, I went into this draft feeling a wee bit nervous. A wee bit nervous indeed. And and honestly, the way that the past several drafts for the Seahawks have gone, I don't think you can blame me for having my reservations about the Seahawks' ability to draft players and not reach and not get super obscure players that they think are going to be great and end up doing nothing. LJ Collier. So, today we have something to celebrate because this has got to be, at least on paper, because we're not going to make any final decisions about this draft class, obviously, until we see them play. But as it stands right now, on paper, this is looking like the best Seahawks draft class since 2012. That's just wild to me. And honestly, I don't think that the Seahawks, Pete Carroll will never admit that they're rebuilding, but I don't think you could have started off a rebuild much better than what Seattle did in this class. Are there little things that you can nitpick about? Absolutely. I could even be like, their UDFA guys that they got aren't super impressive, but honestly, that's not the point of this. The point is, we are going to go through and we are going to recap the Seahawks 2022 draft and go down the row and give my thoughts about all the guys that we drafted. So, in case you were living under a rock, or you're just not a super hardcore Seahawks fan and didn't watch the draft for all 3 days like I did, totally fine. It's a lot to follow. The Seattle Seahawks went in to the 2022 NFL draft with 8 picks. 2 of those picks this year, I guess they gained 3 picks and lost 1 pick this year in the Russell Wilson trade. But all in all, they came out with 9 players in this draft. They're not all on the same level as each other, obviously. But just a quick recap of what the Seahawks picked up. In the first round, they took number 9th overall left tackle Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. In the second round, at pick 40 overall, they took outside linebacker Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. In the second round, pick 41 overall, they took running back Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. In the third round, they took at pick 72, they took right tackle Abraham Lucas out of Washington State. In the fourth round, at pick 109 overall, they took cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati. In the fifth round, pick 153, they took cornerback Tariq Woolen out of University of Texas, San Antonio. Fifth round, pick 158, they took edge rusher Tyrique Smith out of the Ohio State. In the seventh round, at pick 229, they took wide receiver Beau Melton out of Rutgers. And to cap off their draft with their 9th and final pick, in the 7th round, pick 233 overall, they took wide receiver Derek Young out of Lenoir-Rhyne. So, now that I've kind of broken down, given like a brief synopsis of like the players that we drafted, let's go through and investigate them in a little more detail for those that might not be familiar. So number 1, pick 9 in the draft, the Seattle Seahawks surprisingly took the consensus number 1 pick at that position at pick number 9, and they address a massive need this offseason, and that is they took Charles Cross, left tackle out of Mississippi State. 6'5", he's only 21 years old. He turns 22 in November. He's 307 pounds, which seems a little bit light for a tackle, but he can absolutely put on that weight, the extra necessary weight to get up to like what Seattle like prizes, and like their offensive tackles getting up to like a 320, 325. So, give me a little rundown about Charles Cross. What are we looking at? Charles Cross is widely believed to be the best pass blocking tackle in the draft. Pass blocking? The Seattle Seahawks took a pass blocking left tackle? Aren't they a run first team? I'm sure Pete aspires to that. But in this case, they decided to hold to their guns and go and take the best player available on the board at that time. The consensus best player. Well, I guess not the consensus best player, but my best player on the board at that time. Dude has incredibly powerful hands, and that is one of the things that immediately pops up when you see him. You'll have power rushers coming at him, and he will just hit them with a great first punch and just stonewall him and zone him out of the play. He has very polished technique, which is why I fell in love with Cross. He is already a well-versed blocker. He's very flexible, has a great anchor in his feet. You see that. You'll just see him like lock in and just lock in, but he's also a great mover, and he will just lock in, hit him initially, and just zone them out of the play and open up massive holes in the run game. And here's the other thing. Again, great lean muscle with the ability to add more weight. He can easily get up to 325, which is about where Walter Jones. Yeah, I'm not calling him Walter Jones yet, obviously, but I'm just saying that's about where he played, was 325. Passable run blocking. So Mississippi State ran an air raid offense, so he wasn't really asked to run block a whole lot, but that doesn't mean he can't run block. In fact, PFF gave him a really high run blocking grade in 2022. And I think he's going to do a fantastic job in run blocking. He's not going to maul guys. He's not like an Ikemakwanu. He's not like a Trevor Penning. He's not going to absolutely be a road grader and maul these guys. He is going to finesse them with good technique, and he is going to use their momentum against them and like drive them out of the play that way. One downside I've seen just from watching him, he did play some fantastic talent in the SEC. However, he does tend to get beat by really fast, like bendy edge rushers. But honestly, when you're playing that kind of talent, what do you expect? You're not going to be perfect. You're going to give up a couple of those plays. That's really the big thing I had. And I guess the other thing that's a little concerning is, like I said earlier, he played in an air raid offense. He wasn't asked to run block a whole lot. How is that going to line up with Pete Carroll and his run first desires? We'll have to wait and see. But all in all, they took the consensus best player available at a position of massive need. I cannot give this pick anything less than an A, and it is much deserved. Going into the second round with our first of 2 second-round picks, we took at pick 40 Boye Mafe, outside linebacker out of Minnesota. 6'4", he is 23, so he's a little bit older. I know a couple of people on Seahawks Twitter are concerned about that, which I understand. He weighs 261 pounds. He's a really good size for that outside linebacker position, and that is where I would expect him to play in Clint Hurts' 3-4 defense. Super speed. Dude ran a 4.53 40-yard dash. I can't remember if that was at the combine or at his pro day, but super freaky fast. He had career high in games played. He set career highs in sacks, tackles for loss, and tackles last season. He's got amazing power off the line, and you see that in most of the plays that you see. He's got a lot of pass rushing moves. He's got a great club move. He's got really slippery hands. He's able to get off the initial block really well. And on top of that, he's also pretty good in coverage as well. I know we all kind of cringed watching people like Carlos Dunlap and Alton Robinson dropping into coverage in these plays because they're obviously not very good at it. But it's good to have an outside linebacker that can also cover, especially in this pass-happy NFL. A couple of downsides that I had, he's still a little bit raw. Definitely needs to refine his technique a little more. He's not going to be blowing up like guys on every single play. I think he is going to be your second stringer behind. His first season, I think he's going to be a second stringer. I think Uchenna Nwosu and Darrell Taylor are going to get the majority of the snaps at outside linebacker. But absolutely expect him. I doubt he's going to make a huge impact his rookie season, but I think going into years 2 and 3, I think he's really going to explode. Again, docked him a couple points because he's also an older prospect and, again, a little raw, but I still give this pick an A-. Fills a big need, a great pick for the future. Next up, this one kind of has us Seahawks fans a little bit divided, and that is Kenneth Walker, running back out of Michigan State. Now, I've seen a couple of people be like, well, why in the world did we draft a running back in the second round when we just re-signed Rashad Penny and we still have Chris Carson? Those are absolutely fair questions, and I'm going to answer them. I'll answer those right here. Number one, Chris Carson. Chris Carson did suffer that bad neck injury last season, and listening to Pete Carroll talk about him, he does not sound very optimistic at all. about his prospects. And also, while Rashad Penny did have an amazing last third of the season where he had a higher EPA per play than Aaron Rodgers, he was fantastic. We also have to remember what did he do the first 3 years he played in the NFL? He spent the majority of them injured, and even when he did have some flashes, he had a couple of fantastic games, 100-yard games, but a lot of the time he was an afterthought. So, and who do you have behind him? You have Travis Homer, who's a fantastic pass blocking running back. I think he gets a bad rap just because the Seahawks tend to throw Homer out on like give up plays, but he's a great special teamer, great blocker, and he's a good pinch running back. He's shown that he has that ability. Here's the problem with those first three that I listed, though. They are all free agents after next season. All of them. And after that, the only player you're going to have left on your roster is DJ Dallas. And let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. Do we really want DJ Dallas to be our running back one? No. Now, I absolutely understand the other arguments. Look, picking a running back in the second round is not massive value in that. And I that's a totally understandable position. However, he's compact back with a lot of power. His acceleration is amazing. His vision is amazing. Like, he's super patient, and you watch him in all of these, like, especially in the Michigan game. He takes his time with the first read, or not the first read, with his first look. His signature move is that he will start off running to the right, and then if nothing's there, he's just going to use that explosive acceleration and just break to the left. And a lot of the times it works. That probably isn't going to be fantastic at the NFL level. And like I said, while he has great vision and patience, sometimes he's a little too patient, and that can lead him to being a bit indecisive in his decision-making. And also, he's 5'9" and 211. He's not a great pass protector, and that's something that is a little bit important when you're a running back, but I don't think that the Seattle is going to worry about that a whole lot. And again, kind of going off of the indecisiveness, he prematurely cuts back a lot. Sometimes it works, but oftentimes it can, like, you increase the length of the play and allow defenders to, like, realign themselves and be like, oh, we didn't have the first read, so now we have time to react. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But Kenneth Walker is arguably the best running back in this draft, and I think they took him here at 41 because they 100% did not expect him. If they traded back, they did not expect him to be there. So I'm giving this pick a B-. And it's not because Kenneth Walker is bad. Kenneth Walker is amazing. He was a one-man offense for Michigan State. It's mainly on positional value, and that's why it gets a B-. But I think Kenneth Walker is going to have the biggest impact on this team as a rookie of all of the draft picks we made this year. And yeah, that's why I give it a B-. Moving on to pick number 72, we took a local kid from Everett. Abraham Lucas, right tackle at Washington State, stands at 6'6", 315 pounds, 23 years old, so still a bit young. Again, you have to recognize some of these players are going to be older than normal draft years, just because a lot of them lost a year of college to COVID, so just of playtime to COVID. So got to take that into account, that some of the players are going to be older than you expect. Primary notes on this: he was first team All Pac-12 in 2021. Started 12. He did play left tackle a bit at Washington State, but he started all 12 of his games at right tackle in 2021. Great length and very powerful hands. He's athletic. He is a bit inconsistent. That's my biggest knock on him. And he false started a lot in college. That, again, that can be cleaned up. That's not like a physical defect or anything like that. Just needs to get more comfortable. And my other, not great at blocking at the second level, but my biggest issue is he very rarely played out of a three-point stance, which usually is not going to work in the NFL. So he really needs to get better at that. But I had this guy going early second round. He is that good. He's a little bit of a project, but he's going to blossom into a fantastic right tackle, in my opinion. I would have been thrilled if we picked him at 41. The fact that we got him at 72 is such a smashing deal that I can't give this any. It's an A+. It's an A+ for value. It's an A+ for the player that we got. Absolutely fantastic. I have no issues with this pick. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we had Jay Curran, who's good. Mind you, he's an elite run blocker. Has a lot of problems in pass protection. I think at this point, it's Abraham Lucas's job to lose. But yeah, I really like this pick. Fantastic pick. That's all of our day 2 picks. So moving on to day 3, we started off the day with a pretty nice pick. Pick 109, we took cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati, the other Cincinnati cornerback to go in this draft. Of course, I'm talking about Sauce Gardner, who went 4th overall to the New York Jets. However, Sauce did not win the 2021 Jim Thorpe Award, which was given to the nation's top DB in college. And while Sauce Gardner is getting all the praise, and he absolutely deserved because the dude is a phenomenal prospect, I would have been... If he was available at 9, if it was between Sauce Gardner and Charles Cross, I would have taken Sauce Gardner 9 times out of 10. So playing opposite of a shutdown corner, an absolute shutdown corner like Sauce Gardner, he was targeted a lot. And instead of really getting bullied in that Cincinnati backfield, he thrived in it. He was targeted a ton and held up. 2021, take a look at that. 14 games, 3 picks, one of those being a pick 6, 11 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles, 45 tackles. He was a 4-year starter at Cincinnati, so he has that experience. You could make an argument that he didn't play in a super competitive conference in college, and that's absolutely fair. But I like to build on potential and traits, and that is why I like Kobe Bryant. He's 6'1", he's 6'1", good size and build for the position. Not the height that Pete Carroll looks at in his corners, but I feel like they're kind of moving away from that. I mean, they drafted Trey Brown last season, for Pete's sake, who's a fantastic corner, has injury issues, but was a lot shorter. Was only 5'10", and Pete loves him. Unlike Sauce, who has like the most fluid hips you will see moving around the field, his hips are a little bit sticky. He's not going to be. His change of direction isn't fantastic, and he does need to improve as a tackler, especially since Pete really expects his defensive backs to be great in run defense. However, first pick of the 4th day, lots of people had him going in the 3rd, and I can totally understand why, which is why I give this pick an A. Fills a big position of need, and I think he was a fantastic. He was a good player in college. I think this was a fantastic value pick for sure. Now I'm going to bring up my favorite pick in the entire friggin' draft, and that is in the 5th round, pick 153. Your Seattle Seahawks absolutely steal one of the most high, the cornerback with the highest ceiling that I have ever seen in college football, and that is Tariq Woolen, cornerback out of University of Texas, San Antonio. 6'4", 205. He's 23, but like I said, a lot of these guys are going to be older because they lost a year of eligibility. Not eligibility. They just lost a year of playtime. He's a massive wingspan. He's super speed, 4.26 40-yard dash. He is super athletic, 42-inch vertical. 2021 only played 9 games for San Antonio. He had an interception, 5 pass deflections, 25 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. His physical traits are elite. There's nothing more I can say about this, and you'll hear Pete say this in his presser too, that this is the most physically gifted cornerback that we've ever seen come out of college football, which is amazing. His ceiling is the highest of any player in the NFL, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that's not to say that he is amazing right now. Hardly. He still has a lot of work to do. He is very, very, very raw. He's like unmolded clay at this point. He's very much a project pick, and he's going to need time to develop. You're not going to throw this guy to the wolves to an NFL wide receiver right away. He also needs to improve in run support, and there are like, oh, he went to a smaller school, he wasn't playing like amazing competition, which is a fair argument. But so many people had this guy going in the 2nd round just because of his upside. The fact that we got him in the 5th round, and he's going to probably one of the best defensive back gurus in the NFL, in Pete Carroll, holy smokes, that is a recipe for some beautiful football right there. Love this kid. Easily the best value pick for the Seahawks of this entire draft. Now, going from my favorite pick in the draft to probably my least favorite pick in the draft, that is getting at pick 158, only 5 picks later, we went out and got outside linebacker Tyrique Smith out of Ohio State. Now, don't get me wrong. Oh, ignore the notes. I forgot to update those, I think. Yeah, ignore the notes. But here's my thing. He's 6'3", 22 years old, 261 pounds, prototypical size for an outside linebacker in the NFL. Big fan. He did play for Ohio State, played for a really good school. His motor's not that great. Motor's not that great. Didn't have insane production in college. I think he had a grand total of like 3 sacks in his final season at Ohio State. I'm not super thrilled with Tyrique Smith. I mean, don't get me wrong, edge rusher was a need, and I'm not saying he's bad. I'm mainly down on this pick because I agree that they needed to come out of this draft with at least 2 edge rushers. And I had 3 other edge rushers that I had graded higher than Tyrique Smith go above him, those being Kingsley Nagbary out of South Carolina, who ended up going to the Packers, I think, at the end of the 5th. You also had... Gosh, who else did you have? Who else did I have? Oh, Dominique Robinson out of Miami of Ohio, and then Amari Barno out of Virginia Tech. So it's not a bad pick, but I'm also not he doesn't really excite me a whole lot. You know what I mean? And but take this much from this. At the very least, if this is the worst pick in the draft, then we had an amazing draft because it still feels a need. I think he's a development player. I think he's not going to have a big role in this defense in his rookie season. I think, but I think he's going to be a designated pass rusher and get in that rotation soon enough. And with the final 2 picks of our draft, Seattle went and double dipped at a position that most people would say, like, I don't know if this is a huge need. We have Tyler Lockett. We're going to try and sign DK Metcalf to an extension. D. Eskridge was injured most of last season, but he's going to have a big breakout, I think. Freddie Swain is fine, I guess. But Beau Melton, I like this pickup primarily because I think it was a great value pick. I think he's going to be a good slot receiver in the NFL. He's 5'11", only 22, 195 pounds. He has good speed and agility, a 4.34 40-yard dash, 6.98 3-cone. I don't think he's going to see the field very much as an offensive player in his rookie season. I think he is going to be a big contributor on special teams, especially as a kick and or punt returner. Taking a look at his 2021 stats, he had played in 10 games for Rutgers, 55 catches, 618 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also was active out of the backfield, had 9 carries for 51 yards. Again, as far as like the 7th round goes, you can't get much more value than Beau Melton. I had a 5th round grade on him. I know I've seen some people's big boards who had him going in the 4th round. Not a big contested catch guy, but I think he's going to beat you with that speed and quickness and that agility. But yeah, fantastic value to get at pick 229, so I'm going to give this an A. And then last but not least, we have our final pick of the draft. We took wide receiver Tariq Young out of Lenoir-Rhyne, a school that I had literally never heard of. Apparently it's somewhere in North Carolina. I didn't even think they had a football program. But he's got really good size. He's more of that contested catch, big outside guy. 6'3", 22 years old, 6'3", 220 pounds. Again, you can find some film of this guy, but it is very hard to find any film of this guy. He only played 2 games in 2021, but he played very well. He had 14 catches, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. His career stats in 5 years, again, went to a small school, didn't really say a whole lot. He actually had about half as many snaps where he lined up as a wide receiver and as a running back. He could play something like that Cordero Patterson role in this offense. In 5 years with Lenoir-Rhyne, he played all 5 years. I think he did lose 1 year. I don't think Lenoir-Rhyne played football 1 year, so consider this 4 years. Played in 43 games, 73 catches, 1,176 yards, 16 touchdowns, 88 carries out of the backfield for 658 yards and 8 touchdowns. So definitely that dual threat out of the backfield. Could find a way to get him into some fun little trick plays here on the offense, but I don't see him being a big contributor at all to this team. I would not be surprised if he doesn't even make the roster his rookie season. Again, can be used as a Cordell Patterson type. It's the 7th round, so I'm not gonna like kill the guy. It's just I'm gonna give it a B. It's a good pick. It's just not anything like massively huge. So, quick recap of all of our picks. Left tackle Charles Cross out of Mississippi State, I gave that pick an A. Outside linebacker Boye Mafi, I gave that an A-. Running back Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State, I gave that a B-. Abraham Lucas out of Washington State, A+. Kobe Bryant, A. Tariq Woolen, A+. Tyrique Smith, B-. Beau Melton, A. And then Derek Young, I gave a B. Final grade comes out to an A-. And that's your quick recap of the Seahawks draft. All in all, fantastic draft. Are there little things I could nitpick here and there? Yeah, absolutely. But there's going to be those in every draft. All in all, I don't think this draft could have gone much better for the Seahawks, and I'm really excited to see what these guys are able to do their rookie season. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Go Hawks.